Hey everybody, here for Love and Hip Hop Atlanta Season 5, Episode 6, Mother of All Problems. So this was like an extra episode we got to see for like Mother's Day, because it was basically about Rashida and Scrappy trying to get Mama D and Charlene to come to some type of happy medium since they don't get along. And it was also about Jocelyn and her bomb dropping continuation. Anyway, so let's get into it. So it continues where it left off with Jocelyn and her video party. And, you know, Jocelyn is basically like, you know, success is the perfect revenge. Yeah, she said revenge. I caught that. And she was talking about Carly and their friendship and whatnot. And then Stevie arrives and he's with Scrap and Sass. So when he arrives, he's there with Mimi and he meets Chris. He calls Chris beautiful, which is something that Mimi said he should not call Chris because Chris thinks of herself as a guy. And he's talking about, can he join their relationship? And, you know, Chris is like, you know, I knew Mimi told me about Stevie, but, you know, it ain't gonna happen here. You know, she told me about their threesomes and whatnot, but that's not gonna happen here because I'm not looking for it. And I'm like, Stevie swears everybody in Atlanta wants him. Like, he is such a daggone narcissist. Like, he swear that everybody wants him. So, Mimi was it Mimi? No. Stevie was with Scrap, and Scrap tells Stevie that basically Jocelyn is dropping bombs on people, telling Tommy about another woman. And, you know, Stevie is like, yeah, I know, she came back from LA with a vengeance, you know, like she just came back with all of this info and she's just getting people who got her or whatever. So Scrap is telling Stevie about what happened with Tommy, and then as soon as he talks about Tommy, Tommy arrives. So she tries to talk to Jocelyn about the whole situation with Scrap and how there was no other woman in the house. And Tommy just feels like she's losing her mind over Scrap. And she's like, you know, enough is enough. I'm tired of this. So Jocelyn is telling Scrap about Stevie and KK. And Scrap is like, well, I felt that it was wrong that for you to tell Tommy about there being another woman there. And, you know, and the fact that you're throwing my mother's name in the mix or whatever. Him and my mother are best friends. They've never been together like that or whatever. You know, Jocelyn is like, well, Stevie might be your dad. You never know. So I'm like, Jocelyn, you are just a hot mess. But she does not care. So now they move on. Jocelyn debuts her video. Everybody likes the video. She's doing a speech thanking everybody for coming. And then Dawn walks in. So when Dawn walks in, Mimi, Stevie, everybody that knows the history between Stevie, Mimi, Jocelyn, and Dawn, they know that Stevie, and Jocelyn had a big falling out around the time that Stevie and Jocelyn got married. But Jocelyn is like, listen, I'm mature enough to admit my faults. Me and Dawn went back and forth. We apologized. We moved on. That's growth. So Tommy all of a sudden comes out of nowhere and confronts Dawn, and she said in her confessional that the reason why she confronted Dawn the way she did is because Dawn used to be best friends with KK, but now that they're not friends anymore, she's been, you know, down talking KK and also throwing Tommy's name in the mix when she doesn't know Tommy. So she goes to tell her, she's like, do you know me? Bitch, do you know me? And Dawn is like, no, I don't know you, and I don't care to know you. So once again, Tommy makes a fool of herself, and she gets escorted out of the venue. I'm like, Tommy is just, that girl is a loose friggin' cannon. She is Jocelyn circa 2012 when this season, when Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, the franchise, you know, well, when Atlanta became a part of the Love and Hip Hop franchise. That's Jocelyn. So now we get to Tammy and Bambi. And Tammy sets Bambi up on a blind date with, what's his face? Waka Flocka's best friend, Chaz. What's his name? Chaz something. I guess he's like a rapper in Atlanta. Everybody's a rapper in Atlanta. So they discuss the basics. Bambi is asking him all these questions, and she's asking him, she knows that he has kids, so she's like, you know, how many kids do you have? I think he said he got like 2 or 3. And, you know, he basically gonna say that his babies were accidents, but blessings. What? Okay, I can understand if you didn't mean to have your kids, or your kids not even didn't mean to have your kids, if your kids were unplanned. Say your kids were unplanned. Don't say accidents, because first of all, you saying this on national TV. Your kids could watch this show one day and see this and say, oh, so my daddy thinks I'm an accident. You couldn't just say your kids were unplanned. Unplanned sounds better than accidents, because accidents sound like you didn't want them, but you got them and you're dealing with them. So I'm like, so nobody's going to check him for calling his kids accidents? Like, no, not really? Okay. They just continued the conversation like it was nothing. So Bambi is not she's not really looking forward to being in baby mama drama because of the situation with Scrappy and Erica. And she's like, you know, the only reason why I didn't pop her mama is because I like her daughter. But if I ain't, you know, if I didn't like her child, then I would have popped her mother once. And I'm like, Bambi, you wouldn't have did nothing, because it's been plenty of times you and Erica's been in the same room and you've done nothing. All y'all done is go back and forth, tit for tat. Y'all done nothing. So stop. So now we get to Stevie, Sass, and Scrap, and they're discussing Jocelyn. And the boys feel like Jocelyn is out of line. Stevie feels like she's out of line too, but he can't control her. So Sass is like, listen, Unc, she's coming in between family and something got to give. You got to put a stop to this. And he's like, well, I'm going to see what I can do. So now we get to Rashida and Charlene. Charlene is working hard, but they sent Kelsey home because of her attitude. She came in with an attitude. Because after the whole showcase of her rapping, they didn't immediately sign her after or whatever. So then they start discussing Kirk and Scrappy making up. And Rashida tells Charlene that her and Mama D should make up because, you know, it's not that deep. Just make up, you know, be cordial, and that's it. Charlene is like, I don't want nothing to do with Mama D. Mama D is crazy. She's bipolar. And she said, I'm in school, so you know for a fact. I'm studying psychology, so I know her kind. Them type of people, they crazy. I don't want nothing to do with them. So, you know, Rashida is like, well, since my mother in school studying psychology, she thinks she can analyze everybody, but she may be on to something. I'm like, we all know Mama D crazy. Mama D is very theatrical. She just make stuff up off the top of her head, and once she's right, that's it. So now we get to Deb, Tammy, Rashida, and Shad, and they're at I think Deb's house. She made a home cooked meal, and then Tammy reveals to Deb that she set Bambi up on a date with Chaz. So Deb is like, listen, I don't want Chaz to have those type of issues with Scrappy, because you know Scrappy and Bambi are off and on and off half the time. So sorry, looking at notes. So they start talking about, well, Rashida starts telling Deb about the whole situation with, Scrappy and Mama D and, you know, her mother, and she wants Deb to mediate the mother's brunch. She comes up with the idea to do a mother's brunch to bring Charlene and Mama D together. So Deb thinks it's a good idea, or whatever, and, you know, she agrees to mediate. So now we get to Stevie and Jocelyn, and they're discussing the party and Don coming back, and then they start discussing Stevie is not at all happy about Don being back, because he thinks that Don has an ulterior motive. And I mean, usually when you see Don pop up in the screen, it's always drama, and it's always because of some drama, because I can't think of any time that Don has been around that she hasn't been involved in drama. When Jocelyn and Stevie was going through their little thing, I think season 2, Dawn was managing or booking. No, she was a booking agent, and she was helping Jocelyn book shows. That was drama between Stevie and Jocelyn. And then when Stevie and Jocelyn went and got married and they cut Dawn off, Dawn went to Mimi trying to help her make money off of her sex tape. And then when Mimi was trying to manage Dom, Dawn tried to take Dom from Mimi. So yeah, every time you see Dawn, it's always drama. It's always, nothing positive, just always something with Dawn. So, you know, like I said, Stevie is not happy that Dawn is back in their lives. And then they're talking about the conversation with Scrap and Saz, and Jocelyn is like, I'm not apologizing for telling the truth. I told them what it is. However they take it is how they take it, but I'm not apologizing. If you felt the way about what I said, then that's just how you feel. I'm not going to take back what I said because I feel like it's the truth. So now we get to Dollar's birthday memorial, and everybody's there visiting his grave. And the boys are afraid. Scrap and Saz, they're afraid that their mom is not going to come because she has yet to come to the grave. But next thing you know, her car pulls up. She barely can get out of the car because she's crying. And like I said, she has yet to visit Dollar at his grave. And when she gets up to the grave, she can't even look because, you know, she doesn't want to believe that he's there. So she says in her confessional, the only reason why I can't look at his grave is because I'm afraid that if I let him go, he'll be forgotten, but I have to release him. So she finally looks at the grave, says her goodbyes, leaves her condolences, and she feels like she released Dollar. So now we get to this crazy behind mother's brunch. And you got Deb sitting in the middle. You know, she's sitting at the head of the table. And remember, was it last season? Last season or the season before? Last season. Remember when Deb told Kalina that she's not the cleanup woman? Why is she mediating this brunch if she don't want to be known as the cleanup woman? That was the question that was on my mind when she first agreed to be the mediator. So, anyway, Deb is the mediator. Mama D is, you know, no, Rashida and Charlene were there first. And Charlene is like, I'm curious as to all these extra chairs sitting here. I'm curious as to what they're doing here. So, what else happened? So, I feel like I'm missing something. I do. I feel like, is this the episode? Yes! Oh, man. I'm so mad I missed that part. Okay, I'm gonna go back. This one scene on this episode with Mama D and Ernest that made me hella uncomfortable. Like, okay. So, they were in the bed, right? Getting a freak on. Okay, you're married. Do what you do. I have nothing against, you know, couples. I mean, you're married. That's what you're supposed to do. But I have a problem with Mona Scott Young showing this on TV because this was so uncomfortable. Because it's like watching my own mother get her freak on. You know, it's just so uncomfortable. So she in the bed with Ernest and they trying to, you know, do the horizontal mumbo jumbo. And she kissing all on him and licking his nipples. And I'm like, that whole entire scene until they started arguing, my face was like this. So Mama D is getting upset. She tells him to get the lube. Mama D tells him to get the lube. He says he ran out. So she's getting upset because she's not sexually satisfied with him. And she feels like he's not fulfilling his vows or whatever. He's not, you know, he's not paying the bills. He's not being the man of the house. She helped him get a job. He feels like she's taking him for granted. He feels like he's not, you know, she's basically making him feel like he's less of a man. And, you know, he feels like he's busting his butt and he's not getting any type of credit, love, anything from her. So, you know, he just wants credit for what he is doing instead of her pointing out what he doesn't do. And Mama D is just fed up with it. You know, he gets up, he leaves, and he goes lay on the couch, and then they're upset. Okay, boom. We get to this mother's brunch. And Mama D arrives with Ernest and Scrappy. So as soon as she walks in, you know, Miss Charlene was like, oh, God. So, Rashida and Deb are trying to bring them together. And Mama D just doesn't want anything to do with Charlene. And Mama D was like, you know, if I told you if you'd have laid your rotten egg, no, if you would have raised your egg better or something like that. First of all, I don't get what it is about Mama D and eggs. She always talking about eggs every season of Love and Hip Hop. When she first met Bambi, she gonna tell Bambi that Scrappy had more than one egg in his basket. And she just always got something. Maybe Mama D is a bird. That's what it is. She was talking about eggs and laying eggs, and she a bird. So, So her and Charlene going back and forth, and we could clearly see that this mother's brunch is not working out. So Ernest is basically, telling them that Mama D is an alcoholic. And Mama D was like, oh, you want to talk about my alcoholism? Let's talk about how you need lube. And I'm like, whoa, this is very similar to when Kevin Hart said when he at the table, when he with his girls and they got when he with his girl and they got friends over, and she announced to everybody in the room that he ate her ass, and now Kevin Hart got the you eat ass face all night. So this is similar to that, because it's like, what does one have to do with the other? She's an alcoholic, he needs lube. What does it have to do with Charlene and Mama D making up? Like, I'm just like, I can't. So Rashida is basically saying that Mama D doesn't take responsibility for her actions, and Mama D doesn't. Mama D just thinks she's always right, she's never wrong. So it's like, it is what it is. You can't win with somebody like that. So Deb had brought up Bambi going on a date with Chaz, and Deb had brought up the fact that Rashida knew, so Scrappy questioned her, and Rashida was like, yes, I knew, but that situation has nothing to do with me. I didn't want to, because the last time I said something, y'all got on me about it. I don't want no parts of that. So Scrappy is like, well, any other time you involve yourself in business that ain't got nothing to do with you, now you don't want to be involved or whatever. So I'm like, Scrappy, don't be mad at Rashida, because Rashida was basically in a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. If she did tell you about Bambi dating Chaz, you'd have got mad. If she didn't tell you, you'd have got mad. So she can't win. Your issue is not with Rashida. Your issue is with Bambi. And that's basically where the episode ended. This episode was a hot mess, but I mean, it was like, a little special because it was Mother's Day and they gave us an extra episode. So, that was season 5, episode 6. Y'all let me know how y'all felt about it. Like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend, and tell a friend, and tell a friend, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Mwah. Later.